Hey everybody, this is Brittany here with Surfing Waves of Light. Happy July. I'm going to channel a message from the guides. Hope you all are doing well and see you after the message comes through. Greetings, dear beings. It is I, the love, light, pure energy, and joy of Saint Germain, and I am pleased to be with you all. I am here today to share a message of love, to share a message of wisdom, of intuitive perception that I can bestow through this being into the realms of this consciousness, of this earth plane, for the benefit of this being and any others who struggle with the same ego structures that have deeply been implanted into her mind. And so today, I am here to discuss your freedom. I am here to discuss the challenges of going from an extremely conditioned life, full of schedules, full of priorities, full of inundated, abject experiences that are not truly ones of the soul's calling, whereas they are of the external environment, they are of the external world, they are of a external force, so to speak, placed within each and every one of you as you grow into this world, as you incept yourself, trick your mind into believing this world is real. And so as you are all beginning to bridge the gap from deep indoctrinative slavery into conscious thinking, into being above the water, being floating on the surface, having much more time and space. And as you come into this time and space, dear beings, there is much responsibility that comes with this time and space. You see, all of your lives, you have been given schedules, you have been given things to do, you have been ordered to wake up early and eat your breakfast, head to work or to an activity, a party, all things of the external world. But now, many of you have done what is necessary to clear, what is necessary to create space. And this space can be quite intimidating. This space can be quite interesting. It is within each individual aspect, each and every one of you, this being, each individual expression, as you are human beings, people, individual persons in separate bodies, each one of you will be shown your mind weaknesses in this extra space. It is why many beings who are unconscious choose to continue to live out the busyness of the world, for it provides them sanctity and security with the not needing to think, with the not needing to figure out what would they do if they were not so deeply within this world, this seemingly normal world of schools, of high degree educations, of money, expenses, houses, all of these different things. And so those of you that are bridging the gap, that are taking space, you will find that one of the number one callings guides on the other side ask beings such as yourselves to do is to find ways within this reality to create time, to create space, so that you may begin to process, so that you may begin to fully, deeply step into the process of releasing old habits, old beliefs, old ideas that no longer serve, and step into the creative parts of self. And so just like with any other process, the ego attempts to take over this. There is a mass up-leveling occurring right now. There is a massive shift in consciousness, another staircase step that has been vibrationally uplifted, that has been taken by each and every one of you. And so now you are all on a new playing field. You are in a place where there is much more security in the steps you have taken to the consciousness side. For example, there was a long period of time where many of you were still teeter-tottering on the edge, living in the 3D and bridging the gap to the 5D and in the 4D sometimes. And now we are finding that many of you are finding it quite intolerable to be in the 3D at all. You are finding it quite intolerable to be in community situations, events with people that do not have the intentionality of love, of peace, of consciousness, of creating a new world as the forefront of their thoughts. Those beings and energies and events and objects that are not doing that internal work of cleansing, that are not owning their part in the life they've created, that are still heavily focused on blame as the final outcome of each moment that comes up for them. And we are seeing it with this being. We have taught her some very specific discernment moments lately. She used to make excuses as to why she did not want to be around people. And these excuses would help her to validate her guilt, because there was a part of her that felt she should hang out or spend time with certain people. But now, because of her time and space that she has created, we have been able to creep the thought in that if a person you are not feeling inspired to hang out with someone, there may not be anything wrong with that person. It may not even be a trigger for you, dear being. It may be that this is a time and place to protect your energy, to protect your space, to only allow soft, healing, uplifting vibes to come in. As while you are all much more in 4D, 4D is still just a small sprout into the 5D expression. It is really the stretch, the growth period of moving from the 3D to 5D. And so it is very complex. It is very complicated. It is a time of much processing, of much releasing. And so when you have a small, tiny plant that is just a wee stem or leaf, you would not inundate that plant with acid, with heavy pesticides, with lots of negative energies. No, that plant would be needing, especially at that very crucial time, lots of space, lots of love, lots of nurturing. And so while you may not have a physical mother, you do have your spiritual mothers who are coming in at this time and asking you to rest and asking you to take care of yourselves, because this time is critical. And so there may be beings in your life who you have been adjusted to or accustomed to spending time with, who now you are finding being around them to be irritating or unexciting or uninspired. And this is, again, not necessarily because there's a trigger or a deep work that needs to be done. It may just be because at this time you are all placating into a new level of consciousness. There is a lot of space that has been cleared, people passing away, ideas and beliefs in the political systems and other economic systems that are being relieved, that are being released. You are all starting to deeply realize that the biggest sense of security you have is faith in yourself, is faith in us, and is faith in your communities, is connection to others. And as you are all a part of communities now, some of those communities may be more 3D oriented, and we do not ask you to discard your 3D companions, for they are on their way. But know that at this very fragile, gentle time that you are all in, it is good to be protective. It is fine to create time and space for yourself, for clearing. For many of you are going to be having deep beliefs and ideas of unloving nature coming up because of the time and space you created. We have noticed a frustration this being has had. She is at a new place in her life. Her life is self-sustaining at this point. She is able to have mostly free time with minimal amounts of work. And this is a beautiful thing that we have guided this being to create. Now, of course, she could put out more effort and bring in more value, bring in more money, bring in more clientele, but we have encouraged her at this time to continue to study her spiritual practice, study business, study the things she is passionate about, but do not make any solid moves yet. We are asking her to focus on self-care, and we have even given her many gifts this summer of moments when she sought out self-care and actually a client or a business opportunity came to her, because we are trying to reinforce to each and every one of you that as you continue to deepen into taking care of yourselves, you allow more freedom, you are going to be further on the path. And part of this path into ascended consciousness is clearing. And if you do not have time and if you do not have space, you cannot take the moment to work out the trigger. When you are triggered, you don't have the space to write out the issue, to release the issue, to look more deeply at the issue. It is okay to blame initially. In fact, we encourage you, allow your blames to come to the surface. And then when you are ready, turn that blame around and look for your responsibility in the situation. And we know that many of you are already doing that, but there are still low frequency vibrational energies, things that are unloving, things that are unkind, that are deep within the surface, that are still hard for some of you to bring up. You do not always realize how deeply the Catholic guilt, the religious shame and suffering ideas have been brought in. And so there is still some judgment that caps off allowing the release of certain energies, of certain experiences, traumas, things that were brought into you before you were conscious, but now your mind has a bodyguard, it has a doorman, and you are much more able to decide which thoughts, which ideas, which beliefs are going to be brought in and anchored into the system, and which thoughts, which ideas, which beliefs are not in resonance, but you are open to hearing, but also allowing to flow through the river of your mind. And we are so thankful for that. Having a doorman of your mind, having a bodyguard, a footman, this is the first step in true healing. And so because that doorman is there, there is much more light space being created, and that light will continue to push out the dark. And so when you are triggered, when you are angry, when you are upset, when you see something in your political news that deeply upsets you, as we have said before and many other channels have said, thank it when you are ready. Thank it for showing you a part of yourself that is still unloving, that is still attached to this 3D realm, because we promise you, in the 5D, there is nothing not to love. There is so much joy in that beings in 5D live out their experiences by following each little joy from place to place to place. There is an excitement, an idea, an inspired action, and that action is lived out fully, and then the next action comes. And this is part of what an embodied experience in love is. The embodied experience that you are all experiencing at this time is a mixed bag, and this is desirable for many souls that come from the unconditionally loving experience, because they have not had many experiences of shame, of suffering, of trauma. And there is a expansion that can occur. There is a deeper compassion, a deeper understanding, a deeper knowing of what love is through its contrast. And so we love holding space for each and every one of you in this experience. We know that it is quite challenging. We know that flares are deep right now. We see it happening all over in this being's consciousness, in the consciousnesses of those around her. There are accidents, there are deaths, there are strange events in the weather that are occurring, but this is all meant so that you can clear the time, clear the space, and allow for this decontamination process to occur. Just as if there was a huge chemical spill in the ocean or in your kitchen, it does not clear overnight. And that is, again, why we are so emphasizing this time and space clearing, because when you have time and space, these ideas that will take great hold in your mind, that will take much of your time and attention that are not true, they can be fully evaluated. They can be fully seen. There can even be opportunities for healing within the external environment. Other people may provide you even access to making that idea more of a reality, and through that next step, helping you to realize it was something that you never wanted anyway. But there is a lot of conditioning that comes, and each age bracket will bring certain conditioning. This being is now in her 30s, and she has, since her early 20s, known that her life was meant to be a free life. She has always been deeply guided not to have a lot of overhead, not to sign a mortgage, not to be burdened by a large output of money so that she could come into this time of processing. And now she is here. She has her bus that she can go to anytime she needs space. She has money coming in through different sources that she has created that are not in the trenches, not in the lower frequency dimensions of emergency nursing. She is up leveling, and so with that up leveling, there are lots of challenges still to be healed. There is still the conditioning of her mind, which says when you are in your 30s, you need to own a house, and owning a house is the only value and the only equity that is truly of importance. And so we have had this being focused deeply on houses, and we have allowed her to explore this route because we wanted her to go fully deeply into it so that she could realize it was still not what she wanted, it was still not what she needed, that she already has everything she needs. But sometimes when you are stuck on an idea, we find it is better to live it out fully, to fully investigate that idea so that you on your own come to the conclusion that your deeper sense would have already known. And when this being would get really deep, and she would even be asked by some teaching she has been involved in, what are your goals? What do you want? She could never come up with a clear answer or a clear house or a clear vision. And this is because this time in her life is about clearing. It is the time in many of your lives for clearing, continuing to maintain the status quo of everything you've built, and now taking this time of summer, of lightness, of light, of warm water, of energy, and allowing that to flow through you and flush out the demons, flush out the lower dimensional entities that have been attached to you through the thoughts, through the feelings, through the beliefs that were never yours to begin with. And as this clearing occurs, and as some of these experiences are lived out fully, you are doing the clearing work which will allow the inspired action, the inspired idea to come through, and the energy and the action to follow suit. We have told many of you, and we will remind you again, that this being was so hard and fast in a direction that was not exactly her highest good. It did serve her for what it was, but then we needed to pull the plug because this being needed to come deep into a different realm to have her wires recircuited, to have her mind, her North Star, redirected. And so for a long time, through the death of her father and other belief systems that crumbled with him, including the medical system, the political system, and many others, we actually withdrew a lot of her energy so that she could sit with these ideas and beliefs and reintegrate what her life would look like now that they were not standing upon these systems that were fraudulent, that were not going to ever give her the healing that she thought the medical system could provide, the support that she thought the political system could provide, and so on and so forth. And so she needed to come deeply within, because when this being is on, she is on 140%. She can produce, she can make, she is here to live out a purpose. And some of the most challenging times for those of you who are producer energies is when we pull you back and ask you to relax, when we ask you to rest, when we ask you to do this clearing work, because you are so excited to make your mark on the world, to make your mark on your consciousness. You are so excited to fulfill your mission that it can feel counterproductive to lay around all day, or to even watch television or do things that don't seem like they are spiritually productive, and yet they are. We are always guiding you. We are always showing you what you need to know and learn, and we can take any piece of media, any piece of anything, and make it a teaching experience and incorporate the ideas that you need to understand, how to carry yourself, what to embody, how to know who you are in a relationship, and not just romantic relationships, but the relationship to yourself, the relationship to your clients, your business, and so on and so forth. And so as you are all being asked to come back in to maintain the foundations you have created and allow this clearing to occur, this is the step that this being is going through right now. We feel that there is a large percentage of you out there that will realize that this is a clearing process. This is part of why there has been such a big event in your political system of the Americas, because it is here to show you the theatrics, the dance, the show-like qualities of this very prime time television series you all know as the American political system. It is not so real. It is not so involved. And if you want to change the economic, the climate status, any passionate interest you have that you see in the political system, look to how you can shift that in your current perspective. If you feel disempowered by a law that Congress has created, then look to your community to provide the resources and the space to bypass that law or to make whatever you need happen. Because we promise you, when you are practicing the course, when you are making peace of mind, forgiveness, and love with each other your priority, there is nothing that your communities cannot do. And you do not need large communities of thousands of people. It is small communities, 4, 5, 10 people coming together, learning each other's strengths and embodying them in fun and love, because who does not love to bring forth their passion, bring forth their strength, bringing that all together and problem solving any issue that you may have. You will find that all the answers you need lie around you. It is when you are not liking your neighbor, it is when you are not aiming for peace with someone you do not get along with, that is when you block the door. That is when you block the possibility, and you look to the political system and you project your upset of whatever the situation is onto that. But yet it is always right in front of you. And so if you look at your life and if you look at your control display of what is this reality, you will see that it is through peace that all can be accomplished. You will see that there is no system out there that will ever provide you with anything you cannot get from yourself or from your immediate environment. We have been encouraging this being to not instantly order items from Amazon, and yet instead ask the universe for what she needs and then give some time for the universe to bring that item to her. And so this is a fun game that you can play, especially for those of you that love Amazon and order things very quickly. Try to allow the universe to bring things to you. And this is the kind of fun and magic that you can begin to play with as you are doing this clearing process. As you are clearing, you can begin to embody more of your magical abilities. They are not really magical, but when you are coming from a 3D perspective, it is seemingly magic so. It is seemingly magic when you talk about that you need a hair dryer and then someone brings a hair dryer to you, or you're on a walk and there is a perfectly brand new hair dryer sitting on the corner of the street and it is yours for the taking. We promise you, dear beings, everything you need is within you. And so if you are feeling lots of pain right now, if you are having a lot of triggers, negative thoughts, or just general annoyances at your environment, we invite you to take yourself back within, to take yourself to spaces where you can breathe, where you can relax, where you can just be yourself. The self that is not a mom, a dad, a business owner, a sister, a mother, a child, any of that. Bring it back in and allow yourself to clear and begin to know who you are, because we promise you, most of you do not even have a clue as to what you will achieve in this lifetime, because these energies are just beginning to rise. These old systems are just beginning to be transmuted, and as more and more of you focus in on your hearts, on your souls, on clearing the old out in a deep sense, not just in the logical sense, but the embodied sense, so many of you know the right things, the truth about things. And yet to really embody that and to really play it out, that is a difficult task, and it requires time and space, the same medium that allowed these programs to be placed within you. And so as you all continue to transmute these systems and understand what your true purpose in your current front-facing reality is, you will really begin to see how beautiful your life can be. And we know you all know how beautiful it can be. And we know that it can be challenging to feel spiritual when so many unloving thoughts and ideas are coming to the surface. But we say, if you are feeling grumpy, if you are feeling upset, if you are feeling like you need space, that is because that is what this time is about. This is the summer of 2024. It is a summer of clearing. It is a summer of healing. It is a summer of self-care. And that is what we are here to inspire you and to, of course, inspire this being to do, because as you know, these messages are for her, and yet as aspects of her consciousness out in the universe, many of you will also feel some resonance with these messages, or a great resonance with this message, because as the universe is a reflective mirror, oftentimes it is what this being is going through that is what you are going through. And because she has allowed us to channel through her, we can bring through messages that you may think she is perfect at enacting, but of course, as the human being she is just as liable to make mistakes, just as liable to trip and fall on her face as anyone else in the world, no matter where their consciousness is. And yet we do know that accidents are less needed as the consciousness evolves. And of course, that is the safety net, that is the health insurance, that is the security plan you can all rely on. You can rely on the fact that when you hurt your knee, when you hurt your elbow, when you have a sickness and you are willing to look at it consciously, and you know that your North Star is healing, and you know that you can be healed, and you know what the work is, the mental, spiritual, and emotional work that is required to do that healing, when you can process each thing in that realm, that is the highest level of security that you can enact. Because we know, and you will all know from your experiences with the medical system, they only have a few tricks up their sleeve. And same with all the other systems. There are only a few tricks, a few drugs, a few placebos that they have. And you can live those out fully, and that is also okay. This being lived out her doctor experiences very fully as a young girl. She had been to ENTs and sleep doctors and respiratory physicians and regular physicians and gynecologists, and they all served her well. But now that she knows the deeper truth of healing, that is part of her work to embody, and it is another place where she needs time and space. For when she gets sick, the greatest gift someone can have is time to rest, to reevaluate, to reassess their lives, and figure out the small changes that can be made to redirect the ship. And so right now the ship still has many toxins, and these toxins are in the form of thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. And so we have created this cave, time and space for you to release them, to live out experiences that are of the old with this new mind, and to transmute them, to realize there's a new way to go about things. And so you are bobbing on the surface and occasionally going under, but at the end of the day, every time you come back to the top, you are much lighter, you are much airier, and it is going to be much harder for the illusions of the 3D world to bring you down. And so we are very excited about this. We love you all so very much. We are always with you, and we are especially with you when you are in pain, when you are suffering. It is just that you cannot always perceive us in those states, but if you can even pretend for just one moment that we are there, we are. It is your belief that allows us in. It is your belief that allows us to intervene on your behalf. And so I ask you all humbly and kindly, please ask for Saint Germain, a Saint Germain, to intervene on your behalf. And I promise you, dear beings, I will. I am an ever-present part of this shift from 3 to 4 to 5D. I am all about the freedom to choose, the freedom to not be indoctrinated. And so this is the messages I will continue to bring through this being. And so if freedom is your goal, is your North Star, is your resonance, then I invite you to continue to follow these words and be within this community of love and light, for it is one that is going to be an interesting adventure, a wild ride, and lots of fun as you all go through the deep healing journey. I am Asante Germain, Saint Germain. I am the energies of love and light, freedom and hope and joy, and I am with you always, and I will, of course, speak to you again at another time. All right, guys, that was Saint Germain, saying saint, talking about freedom and responsibility and all that comes with it, and a lot of other things. It's always interesting where the thoughts go. I try to just follow it, but you know, as I've had more time and space, I often find myself a little bit overwhelmed with time and space because I never had to manage my own time and space, and I'm going into like year 6 of managing my own time and space, and it's been a lot of rest, it's been a lot of decompression and occasional inspired action. And so I just wanted to share that with you in case you're finding yourself a little unsure or like you can't handle that freedom. Obviously you can, and just know that if you don't jump out of your cage right into a perfect life that is well orchestrated and well managed and well disciplined mind is directing, the guides are saying that's okay. It's like being a toddler again. So I don't know if this message will resonate. I hope it does. And if you have the same challenges that I do, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I know we're all in this together, and I really just want to say thank you to those of you that follow these messages and post in the comments. It is really, really cool that there are people out there that like to hear my guidance and are being supported by it. It's honestly unbelievable to me, and I'm still adjusting to the idea that I can be a channel and bring through information and really know its reality, because straddling the 3D to 5D, it has very much felt unreal. And I think as I continue to hold my own space and time, now that I have that, I'm starting to feel, not know, because I never have clear visions of my future, but I'm starting to feel into the greatness of this all and the possibility. So maybe not great in the egoic sense of being famous or anything like that, but just the greatness of being a grounded and centered channel of light and love, and how that can really impact the world. And I'll just leave this last thing because just in reference to some of the things they've been saying, I've been very inspired to watch these like geography videos. And I have always really liked geography, but just about the Middle East and Eastern Europe and places that I just have always wanted to better understand the countries and where they are. And I watched this whole video about Yemen and Oman, which is right below Saudi Arabia, next to Africa, in case you were wondering. And it was a great video. And it just talked about how they're kind of the same country geologically, as far as like, you know, assets, farming, all that stuff. But Oman is way better off in all these different ways. And Yemen is like this war-torn country, which some of you may have known. I, didn't exactly know. I'm not a big political person. I tend to actually purposefully not look or follow any news. I just don't. I find my mind can get really distracted, and so I really have to zero in. And it's just kind of interesting from a forgiveness perspective. The country of Oman is like this very neutral country. So like all the countries around it, the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, like they all, Israel, Palestine, they all have they're all warring over religions, these very stern beliefs. And Oman, while it is still a Muslim country, it is always neutral, and it just never chooses sides. And somehow, even in the midst of all that chaos, it's, no one's invading it, no one's going after it. In fact, most of the time, countries will go to Oman to help mediate their conflicts. And I just thought, wow, that's such a macro example of a country that is being peace, that is being neutral, not letting their belief systems get involved, and then they become this resource, this land of peace and possibility for the rest of the countries. Now, based on that video, it doesn't sound like anything is going to end anytime soon, but I do feel that over the next few years, maybe 50 years, I don't know, people are going to become so sick of wars, that of invasions and all that stuff, that they will realize that more peace will come, and maybe Oman is the first step in that peaceful revolution. So I just really wanted to share that, because I get all these weird inspirations. Like, there's a part of my brain that will say I should be surfing, I should be in the water, I should be outside all day, and I'm outside a lot. I know I do surf lessons, I love to swim. Like, you guys know, like, I'm an outdoors girl. I'm wild, I'm crazy, my hair has dreads, all that stuff. But then I have these moments where I'm like inspired to watch videos about Middle Eastern war, kind of, and I'm like, oh, like, is this bad? Is this ego? But I always find there's a message. Even I've been watching Queen Charlotte, this series on Netflix, and I've been getting a lot of messages about, one, how to carry myself, and also, two, how to be like a very independent partner, even in a relationship. And if you know anything about that story, King George has schizophrenia or something. Spoiler alert. I mean, you kind of know that already if you've watched Bridgerton, or if you know anything about history. And she just ends up having to really step up to the plate and rely on herself. She has this partner, but he's only present half the time. And my guides have been telling me a lot that no matter what partnerships you're in, romantic, family, business, it's really important to know yourself, to be fully of yourself. And so, yeah, so maybe that's part of why I was inspired to watch that. There's always a trait, a value, and understanding that can be gained from anything. And so I just wanted to share that with you all too, because sometimes I feel like in spirituality, it can feel really heavy, like, can't watch TV, can't do this. And my guides are so like, la, la, la. Discipline, of course, is important, but there is just this flow. And so just trust what feels good and where you're being inspired to go, because I promise you there's something in that. So I hope my rambling at the end of this, plus the channeling, brought you some good insight, some love. Let me know what you liked about the video, what you didn't like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you know someone that would benefit. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful day, and I'll speak to you again at another time.